Hello, and welcome to this edition of the Honey-Do List channel. We have a slight problem. We've been taking our Honda, the one that we did the video about the battery change, to Wal Mart. We've always taken it to Wal Mart to get the oil changed. All right, and this is Wal Mart here in Lake Charles on Highway 14. We get this letter back from them stating that they can't change our oil, and the reason for it is our oil plug has been stripped. Now granted, we've never changed oil in this car, so they were saying that it can't be torqued to the proper torque, which is 29 pounds for the 1.8 liter Honda Civic. So I have to do an oil change. So I come out and I take it and I remove the plug. It's not the plug that's stripped, they stripped the oil pan. So I call up and find out how much the oil pan is. The oil pan's over $100. So I went to my local O'Reilly's. This is not a sponsored video by O'Reilly's, but I went over there and there's a couple of options what you can do to get that fixed without having to replace the oil pan. And these are the options that they sold me. So these are the options that they sold me. You can buy a new oil plug. If it's just your plug that is stripped, you can buy a new oil plug. This is $5. Or you can buy an oversized one that retaps the drain plug that you have to take in and out, but if they strip this one, you're in a bind. Or they sell this one. Okay, this one right here is an oversized, so it rethreads it as it goes in. Then it has a smaller plug that you would use to put here to drain the oil. And this one, what you would do is you would lock tight this part in so it's permanent, more permanent, and then you would just pull this plug out of here and that's what would drain your oil. So I'm debating on using these two. Okay, and you can see the part numbers up there. I think this is a good idea, but you know, because it has the original size, drain plug, everything, but the problem is if they strip it in the future, now you're stuck replacing the oil pan. I think this is the better idea on how to do it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get up underneath the car, I'm going to set the tripod up, and I'm going to show you how I take care of this. I'm going to do it, I'm going to thread it first, and then I'm going to pull it back out. I'm going to put Loctite on it, and then thread it back in, torque it to the 29 pounds, and then put some Teflon tape on the little plug here and put it back in. So that's what we're going to do as of right now. So let's get everything set up. I have to go, of course, get the right socket for this, and there is a few things that you need to be worried about when you're doing this. You want to make sure it's straight, you know, orientated to the car so it's not off kilter or anything, because once you thread it, it's threaded. And they make a size bigger than this, but it's a lot bigger, and you would have to drill it out and then retap it. All right, well, let's get right to it and we'll see how it goes. All right, we've drained all of the oil out of the car, caught it in a drain collection tank, and we'll take it in and have it recycled. Okay, so I'm gonna try to start just by seeing if I can even get it to start threading in and trying to make sure it's orientated straight, which it looks like it is right there. And you can see how it starts to thread, and it looks pretty straight. Back just to make sure everything looks good right there. And what we're going to do is, like I said, we're going to use a ratchet, and we're going to go in a little bit, and then you want to back out a little bit, and then in a little bit and back out a little bit. And what that does is it helps clear the threads as you're going. So we'll give it a couple threads in like this, then you'll reverse it and back it out a little bit. And what that does is that'll clear any metal shavings that are coming from rethreading it, Like I said, we'll go a couple in, and it's starting to get a little easier because it's actually now cutting the threads like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to back it out a little bit. We're going to back it back out. What I'm going to do is back it all the way out and check to make sure these threads still look good, which they are. And the oil, you won't have to put any oil on this because it's actually lubricating itself from the little bit of remaining oil. I know y'all see it dripping. I actually have a metal pan right here that it's actually dripping on, and then that way I can just use a rag or whatever to finish cleaning that up at the end. We don't want to get any on the ground or anything like that. So what we're going to do is tighten it in a little bit more and just keep cutting. And right now we're about 2/3 of the way in, and I've gave it 3 good hard, you know, rethread turns on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to back it out just a hair like this. Just make sure it clears any out of it. Then we're going to go back in, which the first 2 should be pretty easy right there. All right, now we're back to the rethreading of it. I do want to mention that I do have the car on ramps. I have the emergency brake set and a wheel chock behind the rear tire, just to make sure that we're in a, you know, safe, you know, area to be working on. And here we go, we're just about done. Probably have about 3 threads left to go. We're going to get to about right there, and I'm going to back it off. I'm going to back it back out. I'm going to back it all the way back out, because remember I said we're going to put some Loctite on it. And them threads feel really good right now. And you can see in the threads that there is little itty bitty micro shavings in the threads, and in the hole right here it has rethreaded and fixed all the threads. So what I'm going to do is, when I get out from underneath the car to get the Loctite to put on this, I'm actually going to clean this with a paper towel, make sure all that metal flaking is off of it, and then apply Loctite. I did go and change my gloves while I was cleaning that, and there is a reason for that. You see this oil that's up underneath this car right here? That's because obviously when they stripped it, they didn't let anybody know that it happened. So like I said, I had some oil that's been blowing out of the car. We were about 1/4 of a quart short, and so now I have to take and have this car cleaned underneath. And like I said, I'm going to wipe the threads off now, make sure there's no lint or dust or, you know, anything caught in the threads of it, which it looks really, really clean right now. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to use some Loctite. Once again, this is called Thread Lock. I'm not sponsored by them, but there is one thing I do want to mention about this. It does not take a lot. We're talking 1 or 2 drops is really all you need. You do not need to slather or overcoat this Loctite on here. Literally just a little drops. That's 3 drops, and we're going to thread that in. You want to do it pretty quickly too. You do not want the Loctite just to set, because it's going to start setting. We're going to thread it in by hand as far as we can go, making sure that we got the threads in the right path. Okay, got that. Make sure ratchet is going in the right direction. And we're going to run it the rest of the way up to the oil pan. And back it back out because I made a mistake. I had to get it out before that Loctite sets, which it's getting there really rapidly. I made a crucial mistake. So get it back out for the Loctite tightens up. Clean that off. Get the oil that's still leaking out. Put the washer on it. Okay, you can see the Loctite is gone because it's actually locked in them threads in there. So what we want to do is put another couple of drops on there. Ooh, way too much, way too much. Alright. Alright, and like I said, we're going to thread this in by hand. It just right. Alright, and when you get it just right, you'll know because it's going to just thread in just like it's supposed to. Clean my gloves off. Okay, get the ratchet on it. And start trying to get it in. Well, see the Loctite dripping out? That's when you know it's getting in the threads because as it's going in, it's actually making a bond to both metals. And then let's give these a couple of good turns here to get it locked in. And once it's sealed, that dripping should stop. So we're going to stay here for a second. I don't want to and this is where you do not want to over tighten this, but you do want to make sure it's seated to the O-ring, which is right about there. See the O-ring starting to flatten out right there? That's how you know you're going to have a good oil seal right here, and it should prevent the draining from it coming down. Okay. Now, the other thing is the little plug that goes in it. Okay, and that socket is a 7/16 socket. This is from the Harbor Freight kit. We'll be using a 1/4 inch drive because I don't want to put a lot of force on it. I prefer that the 3/8 to 1/4 inch adapter that I put in right here will break before I do any damage to this piece that I just put in. I always start it off by hand, make sure it's going in straight, and we'll give it a few turns. And then we'll check it to make sure it's not leaking any. All right, it's pretty tight right now. So we'll set here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my rag and I'm going to clean up the little drop of oil that I had on the ground right here, underneath that area. Wipe everything clean. Make sure there's nothing dripping. I'm going to give it a few minutes to see if I have any dripping. If so, then you would turn this another 1/4 turn or turn this one tighter depending on which area it's dripping from. But all in all, that's how you would change it out. We're going to give this a run. Like I said, it is an oil change. I will document that we put this plug in for future oil changes. So when I tell the guys, I can tell them what size it is to get that plug out, not the actual housing itself. We're going to drain the oil. We're going to take off the oil filter. We're going to replace it with oil. We're going to take it down, take it to my local automotive detail shop. They offer an engine cleaning, and we'll have that engine cleaned to get that oil off of it. So other than that, it seemed like it was a pretty quick job. Hope you learned some. Until next time, let's work on that honey-do list together, and have a great day.